Roleplay is powerful. This is why. Orcs are people too. I was a professional dungeon master at a weekend D&D event. My table, one of 16, became known as the Table of Tears. Everyone who played with me left encased in appropriate displays of affection and most often tears of various emotions, based on each player's unique contribution to the story. That year, I decided to lean into my experience as a youth minister and dad to bring real situations to my scenarios rather than tropes. It all started with placing a painting of a family in an orc's pocket. My greatest criticism of D&D is that it continues to dehumanize and beat people up, allowing us to hate minority and fringe groups. Monsters are always bad, the treasure is always yours if you kill the current owner, and when talking doesn't work, violence is the answer. None of those lessons were ones I desired to impart to my students or my son, so I worked to find another way. Once I realized that playing a tabletop role-playing game didn't require roleplay all the time, I was able to see it as a tool for friendship making, trust building, and even healing. Once that orc painting allowed my players to see the orc as another character in their story, the ability to approach the scary nightmare-inducing scenarios of real life in a safe space opened up emotions that made the stories we told at the Table of Tears the talk of the festival. Set a goal, take a stewarding stance, and use specific improvisational tools to deliver a powerful and memorable role-play minigame within your sandbox. Goal setting. Role-play has been used as a method in education as early as 1946. Before engaging in role-play, we must clearly express our purpose. For instance, educational role-play positions its players as learners. Education, not fun, is the goal. In gaming, fun is the goal, typically measured by laughter, but I would argue that emotional expression is the true currency of gaming. In therapeutic practice, personal development is the goal. So what do your players need? Laughter and fun, to learn to function as a team within societal expectations, to express emotion. We have discussed how to plan sandbox sessions that allow you to steward minigame frameworks to engage each player's unique style. When placing the role-playing minigame into your session, consider these couple of goals. 1. Allow players to deal with real-life problems that directly engage their senses, emotions, and attitudes as forerunners of behavior. 2. Acknowledge that feelings are the source of behavior. Behavior is what leads to problem situations. Allow participants to place themselves inside the problem situation to become emotionally involved. And 3, allow players to practice interpersonal skills and test ideas and hypotheses about their and other human behaviors. Players then train their emotional control and execute a solution with continuous feedback. Because roleplay allows humans to put make-believe characters in unsafe situations while remaining completely safe in real life, it benefits educational, therapeutic, and recreational growth. Roleplay increases confidence to interact with others by increasing persuasive communication. It helps people express difficult emotions. It makes people feel connected. And it increases empathy, creativity, and strategic thinking, but only if they are vulnerable, and you are the one responsible for building an environment that is brave enough to be vulnerable. Understanding the objectives and tactics inherent in daily communication with others, as well as problem solving and positive teamwork, are goals of role playing games. Stewards that allow players to cater to their lesser, darker impulses create environments that are lesser and darker. These environments are not fun for all players, nor do they empower or encourage players to be the best versions of themselves. Unless you are with a tight knit, differentiated, emotionally healthy group of people, still stay away from playing evil. It never leads to good. Steward the minigame. It is important to know that roleplay contributed very little to personal growth in the studies reviewed for this article. It was the discussions held after role-playing that provided the most impact. Give yourself permission as a steward not to be in a role at every moment of your session. Think of your role play as a specific situation that will appeal to some of your players but not others. When you enter role play, have a specific goal. This NPC needs the player's help, or this atypical monster only wants to live in peace. Write down the goal of the role play, but not a specific solution to it. When you come to role play with a set of possible outcomes or a specific needed outcome, you encourage decision making, not solution finding. The number of integrated solutions increases when we play role play exercises in the context of solution finding rather than decision making. Integrated solutions are action plans that engage the entire player team, their skill sets, their play styles, and their emotions. Stewards who propose problems and become vulnerable enough to take on a role offer more information than stewards who are reciting data from a book. In short, your player's ability to, quote, get into a role is directly proportional to the depth at which you are willing to take the non player character. You have to understand the orc's emotional state that drives their behavior to create the problem that the players then need to provide a solution to. Using these tactics, the steward allows players to draw upon their cognitive repertoire to come up with good arguments. This contrasts with a master mentality that presents a prescribed set of outcomes for players to decide amongst. It also offers a higher probability of long lasting attitudinal change and personal growth. Tools. The following tools should be memorized and incorporated into your cognitive repertoire to make the most of the role play minigame. 1. Yes and. Yes and is the contrast to yes but. I learned this concept in a Disney Leadership Academy course as a foundational method to build rapport, consensus, trust, and a unified vision. Yes and embodies our commitment to build upon what another player offers us. We don't shut down ideas or play the devil's advocate. In role play, the purpose is not to reach the correct conclusion, but to keep the conversation going until an integrated solution is realized. An example of no denials or the yes and concept. A good improv would be player A makes an assertion. Oh, look, it's a meteor. Player B agrees and adds to the concept. You're right, and it's coming this way. A poor improv session is when player A says, Oh, look, a meteor. And player B says, No, there's nothing there. That's a cat. 2. Active listening. You must be fully present in the conversation to engage with it. You cannot be preparing your next line or thinking of the funniest way to take this while your players are talking. You cannot be worried about where the role play will go narratively because you are not solely responsible for the outcome of the minigame. The whole team is. Listen with your eyes and heart. The tone of voice, body language, and overall message will help you to respond appropriately. Keep in mind the emotional state of the NPC and their goal for this minigame, and listen to everything else. 3. Tell a story with a beginning, middle, and end. The best scenes are built when we offer something new and interesting. Instead of repeating what others have said, think about how you can move this story into the middle or to the end. Moving the conversation forward is more important than making the funniest or most powerful retort. 4. It doesn't need to be funny. Improv is so much more fun when you can play and be lighthearted. Your natural sense of humor is good enough. Your innate curiosity will lead you to interesting topics. Your idea of fun is just as important as your players. The more fun a role play is directly proportional to your vulnerability without forcing the conversation to be anything specific. 5. The partner is the most important member of the group. In improv, there are no solo acts. When you value the contributions of your players to realize common ground, you collaborate. When you collaborate, you create a synergy that leads to meaning and emotional experiences. When we role play, the authors are fond of beginning a line with, What if? This thing was a pirate treasure buried here centuries ago. We build off of each other constantly. 6. Trust. This is the elephant in the living room. Good improv and good role play cannot happen without trust between the steward and the players. Beginning a session with a statement that the table is choosing to trust each other is vital to creating a powerful emotional experience. Trust is a building block of brave space. Trust is only lost when one person wounds another. Your ability to build and rebuild trust is determined by your willingness to, quote, first do no harm. 7. The opening line. Edit this statement to be your words and read it at the beginning of every session you are a steward of. Watch what happens. This game is Ealdsmyth. I will be playing the role of your steward. This means that I am not the master of this story. This is our story. Your characters can be whatever or whoever you need them to be right now. Take risks with your characters and make choices that make for a good story. I invite you to act on your ideas today and support the ideas of others as we play. We will make a life-changing story today by forging a brave space built on trust. I ask for your trust in me as the steward of our narrative, and I invite you to trust each other. Take a moment to check in with yourself. What feelings do you bring to this table? What do you need? We will begin when you are ready. And then you begin the actual session with, will you help me tell the story so far? Which allows people to review what's happened before in your session. This is all helpful if we just think of roleplay as a mini game within the larger environment of our game sessions. You don't need to be, quote, in character for 2 hours, which is just exhausting. When you use roleplay, you do so with the intention of reaching a goal that makes sense within the narrative of your story. While you're playing, be a steward. Be the caretaker of the game world and your character's physical and emotional safety. There are no need for pages of notes, because that leads to your players making decisions, not designing solutions. Always keep in mind improvisational tools when role playing, as they will help you present an authentic character with depth and meaning. To make roleplay a successful addition to your game, just set a goal, take a stewarding stance, and use specific improvisational tools to deliver a powerful and memorable roleplay minigame inside your sandbox.